Hello everyone, here we are. We're going to start the book of Ezra. So let me read you a little bit from Wikipedia about who Ezra was, and then we're going to go into the first probably 4 chapters because they're rather short. It depends, okay? So it says here in Wikipedia that Ezra is called Ezra the priest or Ezra the scribe. He was a Jewish scribe, okay? According to the Hebrew Bible, he was a descendant of Rhea, the last high priest to serve in the first temple, and a close relative of Joshua, the first high priest of the second temple. He returned from Babylonian exile and reintroduced the Torah, which is the book of the law, the first 5 books of the Bible, in Jerusalem. And that's all I want to say about that. We're going to hear his story now, okay? So let's get going. In the first year of Cyrus, and we heard mention of Cyrus at the end of Chronicles, remember? In the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord spoken by Jeremiah, the Lord moved the heart of Cyrus, king of Persia, to make a proclamation throughout his realm and also to put it in writing. This is what Cyrus, king of Persia, says. Now, we remember that Persia is now today Iran, but in these days it wasn't, of course. Here's his proclamation. The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he's appointed me to build a temple for him at Jerusalem in Judah. Any of his people among you may go up to Jerusalem in Judah and build the temple of the Lord, the God of Israel, the God who is in Jerusalem, and may their God be with them. And in any locality where survivors may now be living, the people are to provide them with silver and gold, with goods and livestock, and with free will offerings for the temple of God in Jerusalem. So this is a wonderful king. Then the family heads of Judah and Benjamin and the priests and Levites, everyone whose heart God had moved, prepared to go up and build the house of the Lord in Jerusalem. Now remember, they've gone into captivity now, okay? So if we remember, Nebuchadnezzar came in and just demolished the temple and brought them all over to Babylon. And so here we are with Cyrus. Let me look really quick. Let me just ask this question. Was Babylon in Persia in the Old Testament? So I want to make sure I'm telling you correctly. Cyrus the Great. Okay, it says here, Cyrus in Babylon and the Jewish connection. The Hebrew Bible states that Cyrus issued the decree of liberation to the Jews. So that's what we're hearing. How wonderful. Amen. All right. Everyone whose heart God had moved prepared to go up and build the house of the Lord in Jerusalem. All their neighbors assisted them with articles of silver and gold, with goods and livestock, and with valuable gifts, in addition to all the free will offerings. Moreover, King Cyrus brought out the articles belonging to the temple of the Lord, which Nebuchadnezzar had carried away from Jerusalem and had placed in the temple of his God. Cyrus, king of Persia, had them brought by Mithridath, the treasurer, who counted them out to Sheshbazzar, the prince of Judah. This was the inventory. Oh, these are all the Jews, all the articles that the Jews had made, and this is what's left. Gold dishes, 30. Silver dishes, 1,000. Silver pans, 29. Gold bowls, 30. Matching silver bowls, 410. Other articles, 1,000. See how the more things change, the more they stay the same. You can see this in this inventory, and it's sad because we know they had many more items than just these, but this is what Nebuchadnezzar had gotten, and Cyrus is returning it. In all, there were 5,400 articles of gold and of silver. Sheshbazzar brought all these along with the exiles when they came up from Babylon to Jerusalem. This is precious. Now, Ezra is not a minor prophet. Ezra is a high priest and he's a scribe. So this is his story. And the two books, the book after this is Nehemiah. And the two books used to be one. Used to be Ezra and Nehemiah were called 1st and 2nd Ezra. But it got changed and Nehemiah was, the second book was named the Book of Nehemiah. But Ezra is still going to be in it, okay? So here we go. Now these are the people of the province who came up from the captivity of the exiles whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had taken captive to Babylon. They returned to Jerusalem and Judah, each to their own town, in company with Zerubbabel, Joshua, Nehemiah, Sariah, Rediah. I'm sorry, is that Rediah or is that, Reliah, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mispar, Bigvai, Reum, and Bana, the list of the men of Israel. Okay, so here we go with some listings, so get ready, okay? The descendants of Parash, 2,172. Of Shephatiah, 372. Of Era, 775 descendants, people. Of Pahath Moab, through the line of Jeshua and Joab, 2,812. Of Elam, 1,254, of Zattu, Z-A-T-T-U, 945, of Zakai, 760, of Bani, 642, of Bebai, 623, of Asgad, 1,222, of Adonikam, 666, of Bigvai, 2,056, of Adin, 454, of Ater through Hezekiah, 98, of Bezai, 323, of Jorah, 112, of Hashem, 223, of Gibbar, 95. The men of Bethlehem, 123, of Netophath, 56, of Anatoth, 128, of Asmaveth, 42, of Kiriath Jearim, Kephirah, and Beeroth, 743, of Ramah and Geba, 621. There's a lot of people here who were carried away to Babylon. Of Michmash, remember we heard the name Michmash before. 100, and I told you I had a friend whose name was Myra Michmash, and I thought, wow, that's such a weird name. 122, of Bethel and Ai, 223, of Nebo, 52, of Magbish, 156, of the other Elam, 1,254, of Haram, 320, of Lod, Hadid, and Ono, O-N-O, like Yoko Ono, 725, of Jericho, 345, of Senna, 3,630. The priests, the descendants of Jedediah through the family of Jeshua, 973, of Immer, 1,053, of Pashur, 1,247, of Haram, 1,017. The Levites, the descendants of Jeshua and Kadmiel of the line of Hodaviah, 74. The musicians, the descendants of Asaph, 128. The gatekeepers of the temple, the descendants of Shallum, Ader, and Talmon, Akab, Hatita, and Shobai, 139. So this is a remnant of people. The temple servants, the descendants of Ziha, Hasupha, Tabioth, Keros, Sia, Padon, Lebanah, Hagabah, Akub, Hagab, Shalmai, Hanan, Gidel, Gehar, Ria, Rezin, Nakoda, Gazam, Uzzah, Paseah, Besai, Asna, Munam, Nephusim, Bakbuk, Hakupha, Harhur, Basluth, Mahida, Harsha, Barkos, Sisera, Tema, Neziah, and Hatipha. So I guess that's a list of, well, it says that, oh, okay, the temple servants, the descendants of Ziha, Hasupha, and Tabioth. Then it says, then it lists them, Kerosia, these were the descendants. So there's about 3 in every line, and there's, so it looks like there's about 36 people there. The descendants of the servants of Solomon, the descendants of Sotai, Hassophereth, and Peruda. Jala, Darkon, Gidel, Shephatiah, Hittil, Pokereth, Hazabam, and Ami. The temple servants and the descendants of the servants of Solomon, 392. The following came up from the towns of Tel Milah, Tel Harsha, Karub, Adon, and Immer, but they could not show that their families were descended from Israel. The descendants of Deliah, Tobiah, and Nakoda, 652. And from among the priests, the descendants of Hobiah, Hakkoz, and Barzillai, a man who'd married a daughter of Barzillai, the Gileadite, and was called by that name. These searched for their family records but couldn't find them, and so they were excluded from the priesthood as unclean. The governor ordered them not to eat any of the most sacred food until there was a priest ministering with the Urim and Turim. Remember the white and black stones that they used to use to get an answer from the Lord? They'd ask a question, and I guess they would toss the stones. So, the whole company numbered 42,360 besides their 7,337 male and female slaves, and they also had 200 male and female singers. They had 736 horses, 245 mules, 435 camels, and 6,720 donkeys. When they arrived at the house of the Lord in Jerusalem, some of the heads of the families gave free will offerings towards rebuilding the house of God on its site. According to their ability, they gave to the treasury for this work 61,000 darics, D-A-R-I-C-S. So that's a type of money, and we'll look it up later. I think we were going to look it up once before, and we didn't. 61,000 darics of gold, 5,000 minas of silver, and 100 priestly garments. The priests, the Levites, the musicians, the gatekeepers, and the temple servants settled in their own towns along with some of the other people, and the rest of the Israelites settled in their towns. Okay, so let's look this up and say, what was a daric? What was a daric? A gold coin, a monetary unit of ancient Persia. Okay. All right. When the 7th month came and the Israelites had settled in their towns, the people assembled together as one in Jerusalem. Then Joshua, son of Jozadak, and his fellow priests, and Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and his associates, began to build the altar of the God of Israel, to sacrifice burnt offerings on it in accordance with what is written in the law of Moses, the man of God. Despite their fear of the peoples around them, they built the altar on its foundation and sacrificed burnt offerings on it to the Lord, both the morning and evening sacrifices. So there was some fear of the people that were around them in the surrounding areas, towns. Then, in accordance with what is written, they celebrated the Festival of Tabernacles and the required number of burnt offerings prescribed for each day. After that, they presented the regular burnt offerings, the new moon sacrifices, and the sacrifices for all the appointed sacred festivals of the Lord, as well as those brought as freewill offerings to the Lord. On the first day of the 7th month, they began to offer burnt offerings to the Lord, though the foundation of the Lord's temple had not yet been laid. Then they gave money to the masons and carpenters and gave food and drink and olive oil to the people of Sidon and Tyre. So they would bring cedar logs by sea from Lebanon to Joppa, or Joppa, Joppa, as authorized by Cyrus, king of Persia. In the 2nd month, the 2nd year after their arrival at the house of God in Jerusalem, Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, Joshua, son of Josadak, and the rest of the people, the priests and the Levites and all who had returned from the captivity to Jerusalem, began the work. They appointed Levites 20 years old and older to supervise the building of the house of the Lord. Joshua and his sons and brothers, and Kadmiel and his sons, descendants of Hodaviah, and the sons of Henadad and their sons and brothers, all Levites, joined together in supervising those working on the house of God. You know, I think what's adorable, and adorable is probably the wrong word, but, you know, just watching these people, everybody's named, okay? We've never seen the name Henadad before, but he's named here. And he's been in this book for thousands of years, okay? It's like God's including. And, you know, the reason I'm saying it's adorable is because these people are so dedicated to God. God is their whole be-all and end-all, okay? You don't see people like that anymore. I mean, you do when you go into a church where there's true believers, or, you know, I'm sure Jews in a synagogue, but, you know, really devoted to the Lord. I mean, the Jews just revolve around what the Lord is doing, and that's a beautiful thing, and that's how the Christians are supposed to be also. All right. When the builders laid the foundation of the temple of the Lord, the priests in their vestments and with trumpets, and the Levites, the sons of Asaph, with cymbals, took their places to praise the Lord, as prescribed by David, king of Israel. With praise and thanksgiving, they sang to the Lord. This is after captivity, folks. He is good. His love towards Israel endures forever, and yes, it does. And all the people gave a great shout of praise to the Lord, because the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. But many of the older priests and Levites and family heads who'd seen the former temple wept aloud when they saw the foundation of the temple being laid, while many others shouted for joy. No one could distinguish the sound of the shouts of joy from the sound of weeping, because the people made so much noise, and the sound was heard far away. I'm telling you, folks, everything they do revolves around the Lord. Now, yes, they've been unfaithful, and we are unfaithful at times. But, you know, they come running back, and here they are weeping because their temple's being rebuilt, and shouting for joy because their temple's being rebuilt. Wow. When the enemies of Judah and Benjamin heard that the exiles were building a temple for the Lord, the God of Israel, they came to Zerubbabel and the heads of the families and said, "Let us help you build. Because like you, we seek your God and have been sacrificing to him since the time of Esarhaddon, king of Assyria, who brought us here." But Zerubbabel, Joshua, and the rest of the heads of the families of Israel answered, you have no part with us in building a temple to our God. We alone will build it for the Lord, the God of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, commanded us. Then the peoples around them set out to discourage the people of Judah and make them afraid to go on building. They bribed officials to work against them. This is like what's going on in America right now. And frustrate their plans during the entire reign of Cyrus, king of Persia, and down to the reign of Darius, king of Persia. See, this kind of stuff this is people for you. This is human beings and how we operate. You know, there's subterfuge, there's double speak, there's double agents. This is how we are. We're sinful. At the beginning of the reign of Xerxes, Xerxes, X-E-R-X-E-S, I'm going to say Xerxes. They lodged an accusation against the people of Judah and Jerusalem. Here we go. Just like in America today, the more things change, people, there's one thing you can count on. The sin nature in mankind stays the same. So they lodged an accusation against the people of Judah and Jerusalem, and note that they went to a different king, okay, who hasn't been there since the beginning. And in the days of Artaxerxes, king of Persia, Bishlam and Mithridath, Tabeel and the rest of his associates wrote a letter to Artaxerxes. The letter was written in Aramaic script and in the Aramaic language. Rehum, the commanding officer, and Shimshai, the secretary, wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes, the king, as follows. Quote, Rehum, the commanding officer, and Shimshai, the secretary, together with the rest of their associates, the judges, officials, and administrators over the people from Persia, Uruk, and Babylon, the Elamites of Susa, and the other people whom the great and honorable Ashurbanipal deported and settled in the city of Samaria and elsewhere in Trans-Euphrates. This is a copy, this is in parentheses, this is a copy of the letter they sent him. To King Artaxerxes, from your servants in Trans-Euphrates, the king should know that the people who came up to us from you have gone to Jerusalem and are rebuilding that rebellious and wicked city. Sound like America? Calling good evil and evil good. They are restoring the walls and repairing the foundations. Isn't this what Trump was trying to do? Building a great economy for us, pulling us out of deals that were hurting us, moving America ahead, bringing jobs back here from overseas. But it was rebellious and wicked because it was Trump. Furthermore, the king should know that if this city is built and its walls are restored, no more taxes, tribute, or duty will be paid. And eventually the royal revenues will suffer. How manipulative. Comes down to money, doesn't it, folks? Or, you know, push him with the idea of losing money. Now, since we're under obligation to the palace and it's not proper for us to see the king dishonored, we're sending this message to inform the king so that a search may be made in the archives of your predecessors. In these records, you will find that this city is a rebellious city, troublesome to kings and provinces, a place with a long history of sedition. That's why this city was destroyed. We inform the king that if this city is built and its walls are restored, you'll be left with nothing in Trans-Euphrates. Evil never quits, and it's always the same. The king sent this reply. To Rehum, the commanding officer, Shimshai, the secretary, and the rest of their associates living in Samaria and elsewhere in Trans-Euphrates, greetings. The letter you sent us has been read and translated in my presence. I issued an order and a search was made, and it was found that this city has a long history of revolt against kings and has been a place of rebellion and sedition. Jerusalem has had powerful kings ruling over the whole of Trans-Euphrates, and taxes, tribute, and duty were paid to them. Now issue an order to these men to stop work so that this city will not be rebuilt until I so order. Be careful not to neglect this matter. Why let this threat grow to the detriment of the royal interests? See, this is a newer king. This isn't Cyrus or Darius. This is somebody else. And it sounds like he's got the heart of somebody who doesn't serve the Lord, serve somebody else. As soon as the copy of the letter of King Artaxerxes was read to Rehum and Shimshai the secretary and their associates, they went immediately to the Jews in Jerusalem and compelled them by force to stop. Thus the work on the house of God in Jerusalem came to a standstill until the second year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. Okay, so Darius hasn't come yet, but this king is new. He's not Cyrus, okay, who started this work. So they have to wait now till Darius, who's going to be another kind king. So we'll end it there. We'll pick it up tomorrow with Ezra 5. So this is going to be very exciting, these two books, Ezra and Nehemiah. It's about getting the city rebuilt after they come out of exile to Babylon. And then after that, we're going to go deeper into Persia with Queen Esther. And wait until you hear that story too. I love you guys very much, and I'll see you tomorrow. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.